Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. It is my honour today to rise as for the very first time, as the first woman to represent Nelson Creston in this House. Of course, the path that led to this seat today was not travelled lightly, and nor was it travelled alone. It was with tremendous responsibility, and it is with tremendous care that I undertake the task of representing my constituents. And it was with tremendous responsibility and energy that they joined me on the journey here. By being a part of this election, people from all walks of life didn't just take part in the democratic process. No, by being involved, by participating in an election, that's what makes the democratic process. Because at the end of the day, democracy isn't just about E-Day and who wins at 8 o'clock at night. It's actually about the people who participate. And I'm proud to say that many, many people in Nelson Creston participated in this election. Some of the people that were most near and dear to me during that time, there were countless volunteers, but I have to recognize, of course, my wonderful partner, Zach, who believed in me, not just with his words, of course, but with his actions and his tireless work throughout what was a year-long campaign. My friends Lori, Colleen, Mybrit, Susan, Mike, both Melanies, Gary, and Erica, they all humbled me with their incredible level of volunteerism. There was Nicole with her steady hand as campaign manager, and Kate with her sharp communication skills. My local NDP family, Anne, Della, Donna, Greg, Janice, Holly, John, Marion, and of course Alex. They were all there working tirelessly, long, long days to be a part, to be the democratic process. And like I said, there were countless others who joined me at the doors, on the phones, and in the office, as so many others have that same story to tell today. Together, we lived and we breathed grassroots democracy, and our efforts were certainly appreciated by the voters. And there's one person that I would be remiss to not specifically speak about, and that is, of course, my predecessor, the very legendary Corky Evans. He held this seat for 14 years, and without a doubt, he is a legend of this House. His passionate speeches and creative problem-solving benefited the people of British Columbia. He was so significant and so memorable in all that he did. And I feel privileged to hear the stories that people have had to share with me in the last few months. He is my friend and he is my neighbour, and I'm very lucky to have him as a mentor. As the new MLA for Nelson Creston, though, I'm not here to fill his shoes. There's a few reasons for this, but the most notable one is, of course, that I would look very ridiculous in a pair of size men's 11 shoes. So I bring my own. But I will point out that Corky and I do have the same shoe maker. We are both committed to democracy, to justice, to peace. We both believe that every single person matters. And that means that every single person, Honourable Speaker, every single person deserves, they have the right to live with dignity. My predecessor and I, we share the same passion and we share the same drive for a better British Columbia. And this House can be rest assured that I bring a determined voice for the well-being of the good people of Nelson Creston, but for every single British Columbian. So this brings me to a particular story. Now, we all have stories from our campaign trails. And this one, it was just days before the May 12th election, and it hit me hard. By this time, of course, I had heard so many stories of avoidable tragedies, injustices, and unfairness in relation to the last 8 years of the Liberal government that I walked with a heavy heart, but nonetheless galvanized in my determination for a better British Columbia. So I was at a Creston barbecue, and I was standing there talking on the phone, coming up with some great strategies, some great ideas with my campaign team on how, if we made government, what we could do to make that better British Columbia. And I saw a young woman approach me, and she's quite pale, and it was clear that it took an awful lot of energy for her to make that step towards me. She and her husband came down to the barbecue to tell me about what had happened to them. And they were looking for help because they had nowhere else to turn. Heather Dugdale's husband lost his job in the forestry sector, like so many people have on this government's watch. And now he was reliant on EI. What was interesting is that he looked at the glass half full, gave him some more time to look after his wife, who was disabled with a terminal illness, a rare disability, in fact. However, the big problem was that they just couldn't afford it. Heather's medication and care needs, of course, are costly. She had been on BC's disability benefits. But in 2002, Mr. Speaker, there were some new rules instituted by this government. And they said, those new rules instituted by the people across the way, that her disability checks would be reduced dollar for dollar based on her husband of 2 weeks, based on his EI checks. So not only were they suddenly faced with considerable less funds to meet their growing cost of living, but what really troubled me, Honourable Speaker, was that Heather was no longer a person in her own right. The system set up by this Liberal government declared her a dependent in 2009, a dependent on her husband, unable to access the supports she needs because, Honourable Speaker, because she's married. What a throwback. What a throwback to a time that I've only read about. We are in 2009, and last time I checked, women are independent people, and how dare we be considered, unable to have financial security in our own right. And what reinforced her status as a dependent on her husband and not a person in her own right was when they went to the small Creston Service BC Centre. They were told that she would be once again eligible for her disability benefits that she rightly deserved. Remember, she's got a rare disability that is terminal. They were told that she would once again be eligible if they got a divorce. If they got a divorce, Heather could live that dignified life. Now, the frontline worker there wasn't malicious at all. She didn't say this maliciously. She was just being honest. Unfortunately, the throne speech yesterday or the other day clearly stated that such honesty at the front lines in the civil service doesn't get rewarded by this government because they only value the opposite. Back to the story. Here we have Heather Dugdale being told that only if she got a divorce would she be eligible in her own right for disability benefits. Honourable Speaker, I ask that the members of this House just imagine what it would be like to seek help only to find out that the solution was to divorce your brand new, your wonderful, your loving, caring spouse. Honourable Speaker, I have no doubt that not a single member on the other side of the House has ever been told that they should divorce their spouse in order to access BC programs that they deserve. And I am sure that any woman on the other side of the House would be aghast